footnotes are part of the citation system that authors use, students use, employees use whenever they have to compile a report for anyone. They have to cite where their information came from so they can give credit to the people who originally wrote the information. And footnotes, as you can see on page 2-92 in your book, are references that are cited in a report, and they're often indicated inside the text of the paragraphs by a superscript number. Superscript means above. Super means high, better than, over and above. So superscripting text is putting it above the bottom line of the text. For example, this title, this is the bottom line of the text, and a superscripted number would appear up here because it's above the bottom line of the text. Script means text. So you have a number that comes above the bottom line of the text on the page. They give you an example there in parentheses, the word story and then the period, and then the superscripted number 1 is above the bottom line of story and the period. A corresponding footnote is going to be at the bottom of the page, the foot of the page, and if there are 3 footnote numbers on page 1, then there should be 3 footnotes at the bottom of page 1. The footnote includes all the information from where that particular set of words came from. Word automatically numbers footnotes sequentially, so you don't have to worry about which numbers go on which pages. And then Word also puts the footnotes at the left margin and changes the font size to 10 points for the footnotes. That needs to be left alone as 10 points. That's the default, so just don't ever change it to 11. Now, I'm going to use the report that we've used in other videos for this lesson. It's the Email Communication Policy Update. Right now, there is no footnote down here. The footnote will appear at the bottom of page 1 because this is a one-page report, and if we put 3 or 4 different footnote numbers throughout this report, then 3 or 4 different footnotes will appear down here automatically. So I'm going to enlarge this a little bit and show you how to create these footnotes. I'm going to go up to 100%, and the footnote, because I've been looking on page 294, goes after the period, after the word policy. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Okay, here's the word policy in the first paragraph. Here's the period that follows it. We want the footnote to be, in this case, not always, but in this case we want the footnote to be after the period. So what we have to do is we have to go to the References tab at the top of the Word screen, click the References tab, and you can see a Footnotes group almost directly under the References tab. Here on the left side of the group is the button that says Insert Footnote. So let's click it. Alright, when we click that footnote, Insert Footnote button, Word puts the number 1, the superscripted number 1, where our mouse pointer, where our insertion point, where our cursor happened to have been. So you have to make sure your cursor's in the proper spot before you start plugging footnotes in. When it put that superscripted 1 up there, it also came down to the bottom or the footer of the page where the footnotes go. It drew a line, the software drew a line, and it also put a superscripted number down here that matches the superscript number up here in the first paragraph. Alright, now we have to type in the information for that footnote. And I don't remember what it was, but I'm going to use the footnote information that's in drill 3 on page 2-92, and it says, this has nothing to do with the email report. I'm just using it as an illustration. All computers are installed with the Windows 10 operating system and Office 2016. Now, in most footnotes, you're going to have authors' names, titles, publication dates, and some page numbers, but they don't all have to be that way. Depends on what your footnote is explaining. Now, this particular footnote has a couple titles in it, and the titles are generally going to be either in italic font or are going to be enclosed with quote marks. Well, if you can look at drill 3 on page 292, you can see the italic style format that has been applied to the title Windows 10 and to the title Office 2016. Alright, we can also look at this. I'm going to just click anywhere at all on the footnote and go to the Home tab, and it says that the font size is 10 points, which is correct. Footnotes are smaller font than the font in the report, which is 11 points. Okay, now if we decide we need another footnote, I'm just going to say, let's see, although email is a common means of communication, other methods, and I'm going to put my footnote right here. Okay, other methods is where the footnote needs to go because I'm going to list a few more methods of communication. All right, so I go back to references. I go click insert footnote. There's the number 2. Here's the number 2 down here. And I'm just going to cheat a little bit and I'm going to put telephone, voicemail, instant messaging. Alright, and I'm going to say Cengage 2017 page 292 period. Footnotes end in periods. Don't forget your periods at the end of footnotes. Now, Cengage is not the title of the book. Cengage is the name of the publishing company, so it does not need to be in italic. But this is how your footnotes look. There's the number up here in the paragraph. There should be a footnote down here. If there are 3 or 4 more numbers throughout this text, then there should be those footnotes should be down here on the same page as the numbers in the paragraphs. If you decide, I really don't need to list those telephone, voicemail, instant messaging communication methods because they're listed right here. We can delete a footnote very easily. You can come up here and click or drag across the footnote number 2, and if you'll notice, whenever there has been a footnote put in the report using the insert footnote tool, when you touch that footnote, you get a little like an envelope almost looking icon that's attached to your cursor. So you know that you have used the insert footnote tool. But when you need to delete this second footnote down here, all you have to do is drag across that little number 2 and press the delete key on the keyboard. The number 2 here disappears, and so does the entire number 2 footnote at the bottom of the page. So make sure when you are to insert footnotes into any document, doesn't have to be a report, you use the insert footnote tool. It's very easy, it's very streamlined, and everything is formatted for you exactly the way it should be.